I remember coming home from school one day when I was in 8th grade and just going onto YouTube, as I'm sure every kid was doing back in like 2016. On my feed pops up a voice reel for Alejandro Saab. If that name doesn't sound familiar, then maybe some of his roles might. A pretty good library of voices that he's done over the years. But that popped up on my feed and I just sat down and just watched it just because I remember, like, especially back then, voice actors were the coolest people ever to me. They, in my brain, they were just like, they get to voice in the anime that I watch. That's so cool. Like, you know, come on. And, you know, the whole thing of, oh, I want to be a voice actor. I want to be the voice that people hear when they like sit down and watch this anime and stuff like that. Whatever. I'm getting too out of myself. I remember sitting down and watching that video. I'm watching through it and there are some characters and anime that look familiar. And then it gets to Detective Tsukauchi from My Hero Academia. And I don't know if it was the title of the anime or if it was the scene that they showed, which if I remember correctly, and if I'm not, then I'll just put a sad face right here. It was a scene of the detective talking to somebody, but standing right next to him is somebody with the body of a human, but his head is just a cat. It's just a cat. It's adorable looking cat's head as well. I don't know which one of those intrigued me the most. It was probably the both of them combined, but just something about that just absolutely piqued my interest. And I was like, My Hero Academia, what is that? What am I looking at right now? Is this something cool? Is this cool? Do I want to get on this? And you know, just the thoughts kept coming in my head. What is this? Like, is it about like a hero school? Like what, you know, just what is this? I got up and went to the family computer at our old house and went on my website where I would go and watch anime that definitely doesn't exist anymore. And I just searched in My Hero Academia, and at the time season 1 was done, like it was completed, and I think season 2 had already been announced. I'm not 100% sure because, you know, I was still new to it. And I just remember sitting down and just watching that first episode, and I was just in awe, and for very good reasons, because that first episode, or even the first moment of that episode where Deku is saying the truth is not all men are created equal, and that's just like, whoa, he doesn't have a superpower but he wants to be a hero. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you doing, kid? Come on. But you know, seeing him train and work for it and just become stronger and all that stuff, and just going through that first season was such a joy. I was ready for the ride. So, you know, time passes, and then 2017 comes around, and some family friends of ours had invited me to go to this convention called Anime Boston. And I remember, you know, I fly out and I get there and I'm with, like, you know, the crew that we're gonna be hanging around with. And I remember we were trying to decide, like, oh, what do we do in the morning? Like, do we go to some of like these panels or these screenings? Because there were two choices that we were up up in the air. It was either go see the first episode of season 2 of My Hero Academia or go see the first episode of Attack on Titan season 2. And we went with Attack on Titan season 2. But I just remember being like, oh wow, My Hero Academia season 2. You know, I can't wait to see that when I get home. And I just remember, you know, as this thing is coming out, as it's airing, this anime is blowing up. I don't know when you might have joined on into the My Hero Academia hype train or just started watching it, but season 2 was when it just boom, just took off and ran. And it was insane because, you know, I remember, you know, watching the first season being like, oh, this is cool. This is, you know, a newer anime. It's still relatively small. How fun, you know, how cool. And then just the very next year, just My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia, cosplays, art pieces, figures, the whole, anything you can think of on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, everything was My Hero Academia. It was My Hero Mania at that point. And I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. And I was so happy. I was so happy that, like, you know, this show that I loved was getting the love like it deserved, because I was like, oh, this is so cool and all that stuff. And so time passes and I'm in high school now. And I had a hard time making friends in high school for a while. And then I remember just, you know, I eventually got invited into a friend group, and one of them, my buddy Hawk Cow Daddy, he's been on this channel a couple of times before. You may have seen him in a couple of videos. He was also into My Hero Academia. And so, you know, after every episode happened, you know, we'd sit down, you know, we talk about it like in class and all that stuff, and just be like, oh, who's your favorite character? You know, like, oh, who's the best girl? Who's best boy? You know, all that. Just having fun with it, you know? And then I remember just one day I was like, dude, if we were in My Hero Academia, like, what would our quirks be, right? And eventually we came up with an answer. We decided to go off of how we behave or how we are within class. And I am a very naturally loud person. And so I decided to make my quirk sound based, right? And he sleeps a lot in class. So we were like, oh, well, why don't you just make it something based off of sleeping? And so then, you know, we came up with like our own characters. And so when I got home after school that day, I immediately got my iPad and I just started drawing out our characters. And I was like, oh, you know, like, does this look cool? Do you think this color works? Like, should I use this or should I do this? All that good stuff. And eventually, this is what we came up with, both of our characters. And I still love these so much to this day. This is very, very nostalgic for me. So like, I can't help but just smile when I look at it. And, you know, eventually I posted those on my Instagram where I post all my art stuff. And then after I posted them, one of my buddies was like, oh, you know, like, how did you create them and all that stuff? And, you know, I told them the process, just like, oh, you know, we base it off of how we are in class and all that good stuff. But, you know, you could just do it like about your personality or maybe just some things you like do or just anything really. And eventually my friend came up with their own and we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then we were like, what if we made a alternate universe and we call it the My Hero Academia Yourself AU? It's literally just anybody who draws themselves in the My Hero world, they join. Like, and that's it. Like, that's the only requirement for joining. You know, they create a quirk, a hero name, and all that good stuff. And so we made a post and we were like, hey guys, this is a thing. If you want to join in, you know, feel free to, all that good stuff. We have a group chat. And so, you know, we'll add you into it and all that stuff. And so many people just came running in and just start, you know, drew their characters and even did some like group art, which was so cool. I'm gonna have a bunch up here. And like, genuinely, this was one of, if not my favorite time periods of like when I was heavily doing art on Instagram. I met so many amazing and talented artists just because of this alternate universe that a friend and I made. And this went on for a good while. Like, we went through some seasons with this, right? And, you know, we had some events where it was like, oh, it's like a festival event, and then, oh, a beach day event and all that good stuff. And oh my God, just so many talented artists. If any of you are watching this video, you guys are the absolute best, and I hope everything is going well for you all. But time continues to pass, and, you know, it slowly it fades away, as all good things do, all that good stuff. And, you know, time passes, and so does the series, and it starts getting crazier and crazier. Season 5 happens, and I'm like, nah. But then season 6 comes around, and I'm like, whoa, okay, so we're getting into it now. And I remember at a certain point, I think after the Paranormal Liberation War, I was like, I'm not waiting. I'm reading the manga and I'm going. And from that point on, I have been a manga reader ever since. And funnily enough, I think the stuff that's happening like right now in the anime, or maybe just like a bit ahead of where the anime is like exactly where I got caught up in the manga. And I was just like, oh my God, now I gotta wait? You're kidding me. This is insane. Like, this is some of the craziest stuff that I'd ever seen in this series. And rightfully so, you know, it's the final arc / the final battle. But it wasn't until I actually started reading the manga where I was like, oh my God. Like, I knew Horikoshi was an amazing artist, like way before I even started reading the manga. But oh my God, the fact that this man was able to put out what he was putting out on a weekly basis is insane. To the point where I went down a whole rabbit hole of this man's art style and overall his career and progress with art as a whole, and eventually just made a whole video about it. And it is genuinely one of, if not my personal favorite videos that I've ever made on this channel. If you are a fan of My Hero Academia or just Kohei Horikoshi in general, I seriously cannot recommend this video enough. The fact that I even got to make that, oh my God, that's just so cool. But now it's over, and it's so weird saying that, you know, because all good things come to an end, right? But you never know when that end is gonna arrive. And today, waking up and reading that last chapter, it arrived. And I'm happy with the way it ended. I wish nothing but the best for the entire team and everybody that worked on My Hero Academia, and especially for Kohei Horikoshi. And I am so looking forward to what that man gets up to in the future, because you can bet that I'll be there ready to read and ready to just dive on into whatever he puts on next. But until that day comes, we'll just have to wait. And with that being said, that's gonna be the ending of this video. It was a bit of a different one with how much I rambled and all that good stuff. But if you guys have enjoyed, please be sure to go ahead and drop a like down below. Subscribe if you guys are new and if you want more stuff like this, and comment down below what your favorite part of My Hero Academia was, or even who your favorite character is, or just your favorite anything of My Hero Academia. And I guess with that being said, my name is Iggy Media, ladies and gentlemen, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take it easy and see you later, Horikoshi.